So here's a quick video on preparing for the test, section 6.1 to 6.4, solving systems. Let me tell you, it's going to be a 20 question test, actually 19 question test. The first questions are going to come straight from last week's quiz. Actually, the entire test is going to be set up like last week's quiz. So as you could see, the first part of the quiz last week was I gave you a graph with a bunch of lines and the equations to those lines. And the very first part of the quiz last week was to classify the system. So you had to actually find x plus 3y equals 3. Here it is, x plus 3y equals 3. You're talking about that equation. And x plus y equals negative 3. X plus y equals negative 3 is right here. So if you did take a look at the first blue line and the second red line, you'd know that they cross right there at that location. So this is, when you classify it, it's consistent and it's independent. So that's the answer number one, consistent, independent, right? So the very first three questions was on classifying. That's going to be the very first three questions on tomorrow's test also, classifying. Of course, if you need help and you're totally blanking out in class, just look at the board, or I should say wall, not the board. We have this on the wall, and remember, there's only three possible answers for these first three questions. It's either consistent independent, or consistent dependent, or inconsistent. You don't have to put inconsistent system, you could just say inconsistent. Those are the only three options. There is no such thing as inconsistent independent. No way. There's no such thing as inconsistent dependent. I mean, these are the only three options here, guys. Consistent means it has an answer. Independent means one answer only. There's a point of intersection. Consistent dependent, that means it has answers, but it's dependent. One line lands right on top of the other line. So there's an infinite amount of answers there. But the classification is consistent dependent. And if they don't cross, that's where you call it an inconsistent system. Those are the only three options, the only three possible answers that you're going to have for questions 1, 2, and 3 on the test. Okay? So once again, questions 1 through 2 and 3 are just going to be like last Friday's questions 1, 2, and 3, classifying. The next three questions, 4, 5, and 6 on the test are going to be almost exactly like last week's quiz, 4, 5, and 6, where I tell you now use the above graphs to find the answers to the following systems. So right here, you're just going to look for the equation y equals, or x plus 3y equals 3, which is the blue line. The equation x plus y equals 3, positive 3, which is, let's draw it in green over here, the same exact line, right? Then, when you're looking for the answers, when they ask you to solve, and it's the same exact line, how many answers do they have? They have infinitely many solutions. But then again, if I would have asked you for the answer to the system that had the red line and the blue line, then the answer would be the location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 6, positive 1, 2, 3, negative 6, 3, if I asked you for this equation and that equation. So you got to just find the answers. Review your quiz. It's all about graphing, and it's already graphed for you. All you have to do is find the line, find the point of intersection, and that's your answer. Now, if they don't cross, that means no solution, right? If the lines land right on top of each other, it's infinitely many solutions. If they do cross at one point, all you have to do is find the location of that point, or maybe this point, or maybe this point, and that'll be the answer to the system. No math involved. So you already know the first 6 questions of the test Friday. It's going to be identical, or very close to the first 6 questions on the quiz. Now, what about the rest? On the quiz Friday, it says solve the following system using substitution, right? Write your answer as a coordinate. On tomorrow's test, it's not going to tell you to use substitution. You could use any method you want, right? So for the remainder portion of the test, the best way to prepare for that would be to go over the video that I just recorded previously, 6.4 and beyond. Because I want to give you systems. Some of them are going to be ready to graph. Some of them are going to be ready to substitute. Some of them are going to be ready for elimination method. And then sometimes you're going to get special cases where everything cancels out and you end up with something that's always true. And when you end up with something that's always true, you say infinitely many solutions. You could abbreviate IMS. And you could be using elimination method and you end up with something that's impossible. Doesn't matter if it's elimination method or substitution like we did right here. We substituted, we ended up with something impossible like -6 = 2. When you end up with something impossible, you say no solution. So to really prepare yourself, I guess, go back and watch the video on notes 6.4 and beyond. Because the rest of the test is going to be on using any method you like. Let me explain once again. The first 3 questions are classifying. And of course, when you classify, you could always look at the board. It's going to be one of these options: consistent independent, consistent dependent, or inconsistent. The next 3 questions are going to be actually solving by graphing. And questions 4, 5, and 6, once again, look at your old quiz and you'll see that it's already graphed for you. And to find the answers, just find the point of intersection. Okay, so it depends. If you're talking about this line here and this line there, that's a point of intersection. Or maybe this line here and this line there, that's a point of intersection. Name that location and that's your answer. But then again, even if you're looking at those, if they're parallel, you say no solution. If it's the same line, you say infinitely many solutions. Questions 7 through 17. Okay, questions 7 through 17. That's going to be where I tell you to solve the system with whichever method you want. So the big chunk of the test, I give you a bunch of systems. You need to decide whether substitution's the best, whether thinking of the graphs is the best, or elimination's the best, right? So if you're still not too sure about that, go back and watch the previous video, which is right here. The note 6.4 and beyond. Obviously, if it's ready to graph, go ahead and graph. If it's ready to substitute, go ahead and substitute. If it's ready for linear combinations, go ahead and do linear combinations. So you're going to decide what's the best method on questions 7 through 17. That's the biggest part of the test. The best way to prepare for that is watching the videos and practicing your homework. Now, there's only 3 more questions. And that would be questions 18, 19, and 20. And those are multiple choice. As a matter of fact, number 20 is a free point. Yeah, it's multiple choice, but you can't get it wrong. I'm just going to give you a free point on number 20. Free point. And that's the 20 question test. Guys, if you get an A on tomorrow's test, you will have a solid A in the class, because I'll go back and change whatever quiz grade you got into an A, right? So it's up to you. Study, watch the videos, and good luck.